Hey, welcome to Local Focus. Brand new episode for you this week. We're excited to have a big guest for you. But first, it's baseball season right now on Proview Network. So be sure to go to our website, ProviewNetworks.com. Get a chance to check out the baseball schedule. We're into district play. Next thing you know, state going to be right around the corner. It's always an exciting time. 5A championship, of course, there at Isotopes Park. Baseball season is among us, but we're going to go back a little bit. The last season just concluded, basketball, and the season before that was football, and that's where this guy makes his name. That's Las Lunas standout Jalin Holland. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you. And the big thing I want to start with is varsity guy as an 8th grader. Like, that's huge, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're not just out there, right? You're like, there's certain expectations that comes with that, or are you just kind of happy to be there? What's that like?
Well, I'm happy to be there, but I also get some expectations coming from a big family, having all these big names and stuff.
And you kind of know, like, the people in the crowd are like, yeah, that guy, that's the one, that one. He's the 8th grader, right? Like, people are doing that.
Yeah.
So with that comes a certain amount of expectations. Talk about that.
Well, it's just a regular thing for me. Like, again, coming from, like, my brother and my sister and all them. So, I mean, I really worked hard for it just to be there, so.
Which one were you more nervous about, that first football game or that first basketball game?
Definitely the football game, mostly because they're bigger and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, you talked about your family. You come from an incredibly athletic family. So take us through that.
My brother, I remember always going to the gym with him when I was like young. I was going to the gym with him. I always looked up to him.
You're young right now. So when was young?
Probably like elementary school. Like,
so gym rat from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And like, what did you think of your brother's accomplishment in game at the time when you were that little gym rat, that little kid just running around?
I remember just watching him playing the high school, what I'm doing now, and it's just like, I want to do that.
Right.
I want to be him. Just looking up to him just like that.
And what about, now that's not it, so what about the rest?
Jordan, I remember her watching her too, volleyball too. She's the same as my brother, just
right.
Gym rat too. We always used to just go to the gym and teach with each other.
Okay, now what about parents? I mean, it doesn't stop with just siblings, right?
Yeah, both of my parents are pretty athletic. My mom's pretty tall, so.
So you're telling me you got all the height from your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
All right. That's because your dad's sitting right there. That's why you said that, right? Yeah. So not only the athleticism, right? But you have something to look up to right away. So tell me about that. I mean, how were your brother, your sister, your parents? How were they immediately role models for you as you got into athletics?
Just what they did, playing at a D1 level. That's something that I want to accomplish and want to do.
Right. So, I mean, tell our audience about, obviously, D1, but where they went, and tell us about their path.
My brother started off in Fresno. My sister went to Utah Valley. Yeah.
So, I mean, those are places that we all have heard about and we know. So that's got to be a big deal growing up, right?
Yeah.
So do they ever rub that in? Like, when did they start? I shouldn't say do they. Of course they do. They're siblings. When did they start, like, telling you, like, yeah, like, we made it. Our skins are on the wall. Like, when did that start?
Whenever they start lecturing me. Well, not like lecturing me, but like.
No, yeah. The truth always comes out. It's lecturing. All right, tell me about these lectures. What did they do?
Lecturing me, like, just about my game and stuff, because, like, they're always like, yeah, I did that, so.
And then the lecture turns into, let's come out here in the backyard, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Right? So tell me about that. I mean, that has to be super competitive as well.
Yeah, especially when we were younger. They would always bully me.
Right. When did that, like, when did they, are you beating them now?
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. All right. When did that start? When was the first L you hung on your brother?
Probably, I don't know, but I started getting, when I started getting bigger,
Yeah.
started matching his
What
height
about
and
your
stuff.
sister? When's the first L you hung on your
That
sister?
one came a little bit earlier.
A little bit early. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What, then does Pops ever come out there and be like, let me show all of you guys? Or how does that go?
He would try to.
Yeah. So, like, Thanksgiving at the Holland house has to be pretty intense, I would think.
Yeah, somewhat.
So tell me about that. I mean, what are you guys the most competitive about? Is it sports? Is it other things? Tell me about that.
It'd probably be about like sports on the TV, like saying
Okay.
who's gonna win this. Yeah.
Okay. You guys all have different teams? Is that how it works? Or
Yeah. We don't like teams, but it's like
okay, so who's your guy?
my guy. It's like I like the Lakers. So.
Okay, good. All right. What about your brother?
My brother, I don't know. He just goes wherever he likes.
So is it one of those things where like Thanksgiving and Christmas I think is great because there's always NBA on,
Yeah.
so it gives you something to argue about all day.
Yeah.
And then that turns into pickup games and bloody noses and arguing. Is that kind of? Am I getting a read on this?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. Okay. All right. But so tell me about the pressure that comes from that, though. I mean, yeah, we're talking about all the fun stuff, right? The
Yeah.
competitiveness, the smack talk. That's the fun stuff. But there has to be times. I mean, you're a young man growing up. There's got to be times where, man, this is rough. Like, I have a lot to live up to, right? There's got to be that side to it. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I work for it, so it's like it wouldn't be as deep as it should be, like, because I really work for it. Doing all these after-school stuff, in-school stuff, just working on my game and stuff.
I mean, so you've kind of embraced the fact that, hey, this expectation is there because of the family name. Would that be fair that you've kind of accepted that, embraced it, and you're working towards those goals?
I mean, it would be. I just want to do that.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
And who's the hardest on you? Like, who's out of that whole
Definitely my
dynamic?
dad. Definitely my dad,
Okay.
yeah.
And now, if you were in trouble, let's just say, maybe a bad grade, maybe you did something at school you weren't supposed to, who would you go to that would maybe be the softest in understanding that?
My mom.
Okay, all right. And where do the siblings come in? Like, would they be on your side all the way, or would they be right behind Pops saying like, yeah, get him?
They'd probably be like in between, kind of cool with me, but be like, you can't be doing that.
All right. Okay. So you have a really strong support system in place, is kind of what I'm reading here, right?
Yeah.
And how does that help you? I mean, not just in sports. I mean, how does it help you in life?
Well, it helps me with my grades and stuff because they tell me, like, you got to have these type of grades
Right.
or else you're not going to be able to do it.
Right. I mean, obviously, we just lost Elijah recently, right? And that was a big thing.
Yeah.
So how important is it to have a support system like that you can go to for anything?
Like, don't do nothing dumb. No, like,
Yeah.
don't stay out late and stuff.
Right. And you have those your support system is telling you these things, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that keeps you pretty straight and narrow, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our first commercial break here, and then I want to dive into football first, and then we'll get to basketball, and maybe a few more questions about those competitive Thanksgiving dinners. But we'll be right back with Los Lunas' Jalin Holland.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
For certified collision and body repair, visit the experts at CarCrafters. 5 locations in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. Visit carcrafters.com.
CarCrafters, it's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
All right, back with Jalin Holland here of the Los Lunas Tigers, and we're going to talk some football. But first, like, how tall are you right now?
Right now, I'd say like 6'2.5",
Okay, and how tall were you at the beginning of the football season?
probably like 6'1".
Okay, because I mean, it's a noticeable change. I remember when we did a basketball game, we both, Steve and I both walked in and we're like, what? That's not the same kid. So you're still kind of growing a lot, right?
Yeah.
Which is that's exciting, obviously. For those that don't know, Jalin is an underclassman, and we've been talking about that a little bit here. So you start participating in varsity sports as an 8th grader. Here you are on the football team. And it's not just any football team, it's the Los Lunas football team. That's a team that's got a little bit of tradition. They do some winning. The Friday night atmosphere at Los Lunas is unmatched. I love it. It's my favorite place to broadcast the game. So what's it like? Tell me, first practice, what was that like?
First practice was a little nerve-wracking because it was like a 1-year gap because of COVID of me not playing football. So it was like I really had to get in the groove of things.
So we look at it, like the last time we saw you was probably a Yaffle Super Bowl, which we did right here on Proview Networks, and then fast forward, here you are playing varsity for Los Lunas.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of pretty different and difficult, right? That had to be a hard adjustment.
I mean, with a good team and a good coaching staff all the way through that, so it's definitely possible.
So tell me about that huge leap from Yaffle to here you are playing varsity for Jeremy Maupin and the Los Lunas Tigers.
Well, started off playing running back, and then I grew a little, so they put me to receiver.
I grew a little. That's going to be the understatement of this episode. I grew a little. All right, so they moved you to another position. All right. I mean, that's difficult too, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes changing positions.
Yeah,
but to do that as an 8th grader and a 9th grader, that's even harder, right?
Yeah, just learning a new position and learning the coaches.
Right. What about, there had to have been some seniors on the team that are like, yeah, we're going to show this guy what varsity's like.
Yeah.
Right? Who were those guys?
You want me to name them?
If you could. I mean, it's all fun and games now, right?
Yeah.
But there had to be some seniors that made you earn your stripes. So tell me about that.
Yeah, definitely one of the senior wideouts.
Right.
Always first in line, tell me what to do, tell me this and that, just making me work harder.
Right. What about some of you guys have had some great QBs there at Los Lunas. Yeah. QBs ever let's see what this little kid got. Let's see if he can go chase this down. You got a lot of that, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, with Paul. It's always been we always had a connection.
Right.
Yeah, since middle school.
All right, take me through what's going through your mind on the first Friday night home game there in Los Lunas. We've talked about how cool it is there on a Friday night, but to do that at your age, varsity, tell me about it. First game.
Coolest thing I've ever seen. I mean.
Right, you get out?
Yeah, just get out the Tiger and just see all the fans. I remember just watching that maybe a year ago.
Right.
Just wanting to be that, yeah.
What about just, in general, the school day that day? Are you just excited, nervous to get through it so you can go play?
Yeah, just nervous all the way through, just focusing on it.
And who did you guys play your first varsity game? Do you remember?
It was actually an away game. We played Pedro Vista.
Okay, and then who was your home opener?
I don't remember that one.
Okay. All right. So tell me about, you've seen other places now, but Los Lunas is pretty special on a Friday night. I've done games in Artesia. I've done games at Eunice. I've done games, at a lot of places, but there's still something about going to Los Lunas on a Friday night that's pretty cool. Does that ever get old? You go to all these other places, let's be honest, you go to a game at Milne and you're like, what a dump, right? But now here you are at home, the whole town's there, it's exciting. Do you ever take that for granted, or you realize how cool that is?
I realize how cool it is. It's definitely just the community and how we all just get together.
Now, what about expectations? What is Coach Maupin talking about with you guys? Obviously, we're going to get to building to a state championship, right? You guys win your first state championship, which was huge, but the seeds to that got spread around much earlier, right? So, what were the expectations like your first year? Was that your first time around? Hey, we need to win a blue trophy. That's the goal. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was they really put it on me a lot that we need that trophy, and that's something that we need to accomplish.
Right. So you guys come oh so close before, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, did you hear about that? I mean, I'm sure there's got to be, seniors tend to spread that kind of news, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
we came close.
Yeah, we can't sell it again.
Right, we can't not win it again. So what is it like going into the next year? After you come so close, then you get into the next year, which obviously you guys end up doing it that year, but what's that like?
Practice is a lot harder, a lot more serious, and just, yeah, that's a lot serious.
And you go through a coaching change as well, right? So that has to be difficult. Talk about that.
The coaching change was, because our coach came from Belen, so
Yeah,
our
like
rivals.
that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, but he's a really cool guy, so.
Like, was that a real thing? Like, at
Yeah.
the beginning? Like, oh, here in
Yeah.
Berlin. Like, was that a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah? When did you guys get over that? Like, when did you realize, okay,
Probably like the first week.
Right
He's
away?
just such
Yeah.
an outgoing guy.
okay. What about COVID? I mean, you had, obviously you had, your seasons and everything were shortened, canceled, etc. How did you stay ready? How did you continue to develop your skills during COVID? Because it affects every athlete different. How did it affect you?
It affected me most likely in a better way because I'd be in the gym way more right after online school, like at 12:30, and sometimes I'd do camps with my brother,
Right.
and he'd just be working us.
Now, did you notice, I mean, it affected you in a positive way, it sounds like. Did you notice teammates around you struggling? Did you notice other people struggling? Or, I mean, what was it like in Los Lunas as a community? Because I know it can be tough to keep everyone together during that time. Obviously you have a great support system. You have a chance to work with your brother. Not everyone has these kind of luxuries, right? So what else is going on in your community at that time?
Yeah, it was really hard because I mean I wouldn't be able to see these people at school because
Right.
I was an 8th grader, so
Yeah.
and there's COVID, so it was like the like vibe was like kind of down a little bit
Right.
because we don't see each other that much besides practice and games.
And how hard was it? I mean, just coach, right? Like getting coaching during COVID. That was so different, right?
Yeah.
You're used to your coach yelling at you in person.
Yeah.
Now he's doing it on a little screen. It can't be that intimidating on a little screen, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's weird. You're used to it because that's what you came into. But some athletes, they never experienced that. Like, kids that are growing up now, they will have always gone through that, but no one else had in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the hardest thing about it in your mind? It sounds like you got through it pretty easily, but what was the hardest thing?
The hardest thing about it was probably the Zoom workouts
Right.
and just like having to get up, get on Zoom, and then like just working out with them.
Right.
And I feel like it was hard for the coaches too because there's so much kids, and it was like hard to teach all of us just because we're on screen. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's probably one of them.
How much cheating is going on during Zoom workouts? It's like, are there really tricks like you can put, like, I just heard about some of these tricks. I'm not going to tie any names to them, but you could just download a picture that says loading and kept the loading screen, and then you just pretend that it's loading and you're never actually there. Like, how much cheating is going on during Zoom workouts versus a regular workout?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably a lot more.
You could get away with that kind of stuff on Zoom, right?
Yeah, probably way more easier.
Okay. First playoff game. Tell me about that. I mean, here you guys have this great season. Your first playoff game as a varsity football player. Tell me about that.
Definitely the week of the game and coming into the game, locked in, super locked in, because like of what happened last year, like because we needed this win,
Right.
we couldn't take it for granted or else we're not getting that
Right.
win.
Playoff games tend to be a little more physical. Some players have told me they seem faster at times. How was that, dealing with that as an underclassman? Like, could you notice the difference?
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
it was just a little faster and a little harder because both of the teams knew that win or go home. So.
Right. All right, championship, take us through that. I mean, it's a home game, which is always cool, right? Like, like no one wants to travel to Roswell, no offense. But, or anywhere for that matter, right? It's a home game in Los Lunas for the state championship. What was that week like? I can only imagine what that was like, that whole week.
Yeah, coaches emphasizing what happened last year and like how like we can't take this for granted. Like this needs to be done.
But like Los Lunas does it right. Like they do the parades and stuff. They do you guys are at the middle schools and stuff, right? You do
Yeah.
stuff like that still, right?
Yeah.
So what is that experience like as a young man?
It just brings the community way more together. So those younger guys get to see what we're doing. They're going to want to do it.
You start to see kids in elementary schools and middle schools like knowing who you are, like looking
Yeah.
up to like that. Did that hit you right away? Has it hit you yet? Like, oh man, I
Yeah.
really am a role model in my community. What was that like the first time you felt it?
Yeah, a lot of kids, they know me because of my,
Right.
they like text me and stuff. They say, I want to be varsity on 8th grade just like you.
Yeah, like I think it really hit hard, that picture of JB with all those elementary kids, right?
Yeah.
Like that was when you really like, whoa, like these kids really do look up to high school heroes. I've seen it at Rio Rancho games. You wouldn't believe how many kids are asking Zach Vigil for his gloves after the game. Like, has something like that happened to you yet?
Nah, not like that yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, something to work towards, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you got a few years left. We're going to take another break here. And when we're back with Jalin, we do want to dive into some basketball. We'll talk hoops when we get back.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
For 50 years, Clark's Pet Emporium has been your pet's favorite stop. Fish, birds, cats, dogs, reptiles, and small animals. Clark's has built a tradition of friendly, knowledgeable service focused on affordable, quality pet care products and food. Locally owned and operated with 2 convenient locations for all your pet needs, including an extensive selection of gifts for both owners and pets. 11200 Manal Northeast or 4914 Lomas Northeast. Clark's Pet Emporium is celebrating 50 years. Thank you, Albuquerque, the pet supply superstore. ClarksPets.com.
We're back with Jalin Holland. We're going to talk some hoops now. I think it's fair to say football is just, a hobby that you do to stay in shape? Like basketball is the main sport? Like, which is it?
Nah, they're both main.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you're kind of undecided, you could say, at the moment. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's interesting. Basketball is the one you started as an 8th grader, which is so amazing, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have a chance playing that extra year. You might have a chance to chase down some records there at Los Lunas, but that's way down the road.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that when you come back in a few years when you're like 7 feet tall. We'll talk about that then. But 8th grade, you're playing varsity. You're not even on campus with these dudes, right?
No, I'm not even.
Okay, so tell me about that. That'd be weird and different.
Just going to the, what's it called? Because, like, the times of practice would change depending on the day. So I'd have to, like, text them because I don't know what days
Right.
days
Because
they
you're
are.
not at school.
Yeah.
With them.
Yeah.
Right. How did they welcome you into the program? How was that first kind of, tell me about, same question I asked in football, but what was week 1 like, meeting Coach Julian, being coached by Coach Julian for the first time, the program, the rest of the guys? Tell me about the first week. What was that like as an 8th grader?
I mean, I definitely knew all of them. I knew Coach Julian because, we're friends, kind of.
Right.
Cause, and then the seniors, I knew them because I used to watch them. So there's a little connection there. So
It's different when he's yelling at the guys you knew and now he's yelling at you.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest thing about week 1 there getting used to?
probably the practices and how hard they have to be.
I would imagine that a Travis Julian practice is pretty hard. And I respect the hell out of Coach Julian. He's got to be one of the toughest coaches, one of the best coaches we have in this city. But I would imagine his practices can't be fun.
They'll be fun sometimes. He just has to do what he has to do to make us better.
Well, are we talking because he seems like the 2 hours of defense, 5 minutes of offense kind of guy. Am I reading this correctly? How much defense, how much running, how much nearly throwing up? What's fun about it? What's fun about that?
I mean, it's fun whenever we're competing against each other. So
right.
we would compete against each other a lot, even when we're doing defense and offense. So that part would be really fun.
Were you ready for all that as an 8th grader? Or did he take you to the limit? Was he pushing you how you've never been pushed before? Tell us about that. That had to be the biggest adjustment, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Is just being pushed that hard.
Yeah, he would ease me in. So he wouldn't at the start.
I don't think Travis would ease anyone into anything. What's ease in? What does that mean to you?
So he would, if I mess up on a drill, he wouldn't be You know what I'm saying? He would like tell me like something to do different and like fix it.
So it's a soft. It's almost like a teddy bear side of Travis Julian. I never would have guessed this. All right, so you're an 8th grader now. You're rolling with Varsity, and it's a good team. I mean, Las Lunas is always a competitive team. So tell me about that. I mean, just being on a competitive team right off the bat.
It was really fun playing all the teams and like low key beating them by a lot. Some of them definitely even in the district.
Yeah, you guys put it on some teams. It's okay to say that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you guys really put it on some teams. I mean, when did you notice people starting to like again realize, hey, this kid's going to be really good? He's an 8th grader. He's playing varsity. Like, when did you notice that spotlight kind of start to shine?
Whenever the first game, I didn't start the first game, but then coach put me in, and I think I ended up with 18 that game, and then he started me the second half, and then I started all the other games.
I mean, did you kind of go into that season already with that confidence, or when did you feel like it all clicked? Like, yeah, man, I got this. I got this. Coach, give me the rock. Like, when did that happen?
That exact game when we played Manzano at Manzano.
Okay.
Because I was definitely lighting them up.
All right, so take me last season now. Again, you guys have a few guys graduate. The team looks different. You play more of a role as a freshman. Tell us about that. I mean, tell us that transition between 8th grade year to 9th grade year.
Yeah.
What did that look like as a team, and what did that look like just as an individual for you?
Yeah, definitely as a team, all of our seniors are gone, but we have more seniors. And definitely, like, my role, it's like, when I was 8th grader, it was like, it wasn't really like, I need the ball, I'm the scorer right now. It was like, we're mostly as a team. But like, as me, I'm kind of the main guy now, because all the Josiah and them are gone, so that has to be me.
And what did you do to prepare for that? I mean, you have a couple hours of practice with coach, right? But so much more goes into that, obviously. People just don't turn into Jalin Holland by going to practice after school. Yeah. That doesn't happen. So tell me the kind of work you're putting in every day by yourself away from school in between those 2 seasons.
I would go to the gym, and I'd also have a workout. So, yeah.
Did you steal any workouts from your brother and sister? Like, did they have a thing?
Yeah.
Right, here's what you're going to do. This is, so that's an advantage, right? You have that right there. They can tell you what to do. Yeah. That's a huge advantage,
especially from a college level, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking D1 here, right? And so tell me about this season. Obviously, you guys fell a little short, I'm sure, of your goals, right? Because at a program like Las Lunas, the goals are pretty high. But so tell me what you're working on right now going into the next season.
The next season?
Other than growing, like every time I see you. Okay, I know that's happening, but what are you working on game-wise?
Game-wise, focusing on teamwork and like really like passing the ball, like more on offense and like getting good looks, like even better looks, and like being like one of those offensive teams that you like need to guard.
Right. It's crazy to think about how many more years you still have left to go. So, I mean, what are some of obviously what you have the blueprint right there from your family, right? So that's got to be the goal, D1, right?
Yeah.
What's the dream school?
The dream school, I'd say probably Duke or Arizona.
Okay. We can edit that Arizona part out. Josh, edit that Arizona and have it be UCLA, okay? Edit that out, all right? Okay, we can fix that for you. I know you probably slipped there. Okay, that's cool. You're young. You're young. You don't know any better. All right, I got it. All right. Goals moving forward, of course D1, right? But I mean, you're already first teamer as an underclassman, right? Is that blue trophy? Is that the goal in basketball? What are your other goals moving forward?
Definitely a championship.
Right. I mean, how special would it be to be part of that? You bring the first blue trophy to Las Lunas in football. Now you bring a blue trophy in basketball.
That would be amazing.
Well, it has been a quick half hour already. Hopefully we'll have you back since you have so many years left. And it's been a pleasure to watch you this early. And keep working, man. We're all rooting for you, that's for sure. Jalin Holland, thank you for coming in. And thank you for watching, everybody. Good night.